just had the lottery live stream last night.
Shit popped off.
Yeah, shit did pop off. You guys fucking killed it as always. I mean, that's what we expected. Anything less, you know what I'm saying? We would have left my man in the audience. You know what I'm saying? Rating you.
I wouldn't be in this chair if it didn't blow up. You know what I mean? That's it's big time.
Pistons got the 5th pick.
Yeah.
How you feel?
25 cents on.
Listen, I feel good. I tweeted this out the other day, and I'm sure you guys would agree with me. It's different having a guy like Troy Weaver in the building.
Yes.
It just really is. We haven't had – this isn't Stan Van Gundy. This isn't Ed Stefanski making these selections. This is a guy who has a resume and has worked alongside Sam Presti, who, listen, Oklahoma City Thunder. Look at that team they built. I know this is same old stuff, but James Harden, KD, we can go through it. Russell Westbrook, Ibaka, Steven Adams, they found serviceable players no matter where they selected.
Alexander.
Yep, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Josh Giddey.
Yep, another one.
I mean, that's not Troy Weaver, but
that still, he comes from, great at identifying talent, so I'm not too worried about it. 5th overall pick. Now, if it was 7, I think, you feel better as you get higher in the draft, but like we kind of talked about today, there's not really a for sure Cade Cunningham in this draft. Like, there's not a guy you look at and say, this is the number 1 overall pick. So if you're going to have the 5th pick, it's probably the year to do it.
Yeah,
honestly,
definitely. Because there's
smiling so hard.
I was trying to make you laugh.
I didn't even see you, and then he turned his head, and I saw your face.
I was like, God, imagine waking up to that face. That's right.
No, no, like you said, this is a good draft to have it. This isn't like last year's draft where, well, it kind of is like last year's draft, except there isn't a Cade Cunningham. Because there's you got the Evan Mobley, Jaylen Green, Josh Giddey, Jalen Suggs, Scotty Barnes, that whole 2 through 6
crazy.
is good. All those guys are going to be studs in the league, and that's what we see with this, with where the Pistons are going to be drafting, unless somebody pulls a fart of the century and doesn't go with one of those top 3 guys with the top 3 picks, which we all think is going to be Paulo, Jabari, and Chet in no particular order. And then you got, anywhere, all hell breaks loose from there. Because then you got Jaden Ivey, you got Shaden Sharp, you got Keegan Murray, you got AJ Griffin, you got Jalen Duren, you got Benedict Cumberbatch, you got all these guys that can reasonably be that 4th or 5th pick.
Yeah,
and it's good to have options, and that's what Troy Weaver was on some radio show. I don't know who they are, but some bum radio show this morning, and he was saying that he wants depth. He said he feels like that's what they were lacking was depth. He feels like he's ready to draft right now. If the draft was today, he said he'd be ready. But obviously, you still got to bring these guys in. You got to interview them. You got to sit down with them. You got to see what kind of person they are.
Right.
And he said he's drafting off of what would work best in his system, what would be best with Cade, with all of those guys. And when I hear all of that, it makes me think they're going guard because they need depth at guard. They have Killian, but Killian's not obviously an offensive threat per se.
Right.
And when Cade goes down, like we saw when Cade wasn't there for the first couple of weeks, God forbid he gets hurt next year, rolls an ankle, misses a couple weeks, they don't have that impact guard, that guy who's going to run the offense, that guy who's going to come out there and make shots. So I think if they pick that up in the draft, and let alone these guys are 2 guards. These aren't point guards that are in the draft, And so if we pick up one of those
don't even do
that can run side by side with Cade, and then, like I said, God forbid if Cade gets hurt, he can take that show over a little bit just to keep him floating until Cade gets back.
Well, I hear depth, I think, more the center position, but I just want to speak real quick, too, before we move on from it, about the not being upset about the number 5 pick. And it's everything I already said on BDE, but just reiterate it for the Woodward Heavyweights listeners, and shout out to you guys. We fuck with y'all for fucking with us. Make sure you hit that like button.
Fuck with y'all heavy.
Subscribe.
If you're talking shit in the comments, we love it.
We love you.
We love it.
Big facts. But
keep supporting. I love all my fans.
They're all fans.
Anyway, motherfuckers, this year's draft isn't last year's draft, in my opinion, to where, like, the fact that the number 1 overall pick keeps shuffling around and there isn't, like, a for sure answer, like, I think that's, if this is a year to have a 5th pick, you know what I'm saying? To, like, or at least not feel guilty or bad about having the 5th pick, because with those names shuffling, that means no one's a for sure hit. No one's a for sure hit. And I simulated it, or I don't know if that's a word to use, but I related it to the NFL draft this year. Same kind of situation. You know what I'm saying? This shit was just shuffling. And I use the example of, like, Trayvon Walker being your Chet in this year's draft related to NBA. Yeah. I see Jabari Smith being your Aiden Hutchinson related to the NBA. I see freaking Kayvon Thibodeau being your Paulo, you know what I'm saying? The guy who's supposed to be really good, but kind of like left you unfulfilled, you know what I'm saying?
Shit, Paulo falls to 5. I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
me
Chet.
too.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but
Not gonna happen.
You know, Chet being your fucking unicorn, your Trayvon Walker with all these fucking exciting attributes, but like you have to prove it on that level. And obviously Jabari just being your pros pro, like for sure thing.
Right.
And like as much as I do like Jabari Smith and like that too, is like, do you guys see him or any of those three guys? Maybe Chet if he pans out what he's supposed to be, but taking over the league or just being like number 2 in a big 3 or like, you know what I'm saying? Like you see those guys being the guy?
I get what you're saying. And it's hard to project guys, I mean, if you look at Giannis when he was coming out, you never would have thought he would take over the league. So a lot of it has to do
he's a
with,
late round pick though.
Right. But just in general though, like no one really would have thought immediately Cade would be the impact player he is right away. Like you knew he'd be the best player, but he's special. I mean, doing things that only Michael Jordan did in the month of March. Like you just don't expect those things. So with this class, what you can do is you take a guy that you're confident in that will develop. And that's kind of why I love Jabari Smith, because he gets a lot of those things that you want to teach. He already checks them off. Like, you know what I mean? So the things that, the playmaking and other stuff like that, you can coach that. I mean, that a jump shot is not, sometimes that's not always coachable. And he checks a lot of those things off immediately. So I agree with every one of your points you made. I think Troy Weaver, honestly, in a way, kind of likes it. Like he likes being in this position to where not only you got to see what happens in front of you, but like we said, we have 4 or 5 guys you can make an argument for
we got a couple
at 5. So I think Troy Weaver's going to thrive in that environment. He already had the number 1 overall pick. A lot of pressure on him. You got to take your number 1. He took Cade. It was the right decision. So now he gets another test this year, and I can't wait to see what he does.
And there's a name on this list too that like could, if he played, and definitely probably next year could have been like the number 1 overall pick, possibly or 2. I'm not tripping on Shaden Sharp. I mean, like you guys, Jeff, you know more than Spencer on this one, or maybe you do. I don't know. No one really knows a lot about this kid.
Right, it's hard to don't have a lot of film on him, but the thing I can say about Shaden Sharp is.
Give me some ganja. 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 Give me some ganja.